Hello, I'm going to be talking about why Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is the most underrated person in history. Although Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is argued to be the most overrated person in history because monumental additions such as the Statue of Unity, which is the world's largest statue at 182 meters tall, were made to honor him, Sardar was truly the most underrated person in history because the Statue of Unity doesn't compensate for his efforts, which helped the amalgamation of the Indian Union become a successful one, his support and ameliorations of Mahatma Gandhi's ambition, and most memorably, his Satyagraha movements that saved so many lives. He was born on October 31st, 1875 in Nadiad, Gujarat to a middle-class traditional Hindu family from the Leva Patidar caste, which is the highest and most respectable of the Patidar castes. He went to primary school in Karamsad and then attended high school in Petlad, but he was mostly self-taught using borrowed books. He was married at 16 and started college at 22. Afterwards, he passed the district leader's exam, which permitted him to pursue law. He became a distinguished lawyer after presenting a case in the precise and appealing manner while challenging British judges and police witnesses. In 1900, at 25 years old, he set up an independent office of district pleader in Godhra, then moved to Barsod in 1902. In 1908, his wife died, leaving with him a son and a daughter to take care of. Later, in August of 1910, he went to London to enhance his skill in the legal profession and graduated from Middle Temple with highest honors. By February 1913, he became the leading barrister in Ahmedabad, becoming widely known for his superior mannerisms, intelligence, English clothes, and his championship in bridge at the Gujarat Club. In 1917, he became the first Indian municipal commissioner of Ahmedabad after meeting Mahatma Gandhi. Immediately after, in 1924, he was elected to be the municipal president. In 1929, he became the second candidate after Gandhi for the presidency of the Lahore session, for which Gandhi pressured him to withdraw for political reasons. The next year, while the Salt Satyagraha was ongoing, Sardar was given 3 months of imprisonment. In March of 1931, he presided over the Karachi session of the Indian National Congress Party, and in the January of 1932, he was imprisoned and released in July of 1934. He marshaled the Congress Party organization in the 1937 elections, becoming the main contender, but yet again, Gandhi pressured him to withdraw. He was imprisoned in October of 1940 and released in August of 1941, only to be imprisoned yet again in August of 1942 and released in June of 1945. After the latter release, he became the leading candidate for the 1945 and 46 Indian National Congress Party elections, but Gandhi intervened one more time and Jawaharlal Nehru was declared the first Prime Minister of India instead of him. But he contested in the next election in 1947, right when India gained independence from British rule, and became the first Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Information, and Minister of States in the next 3 years. He had a severe heart attack in 1948, some months after Gandhi's assassination. Although he continued his work for 2 years, he never fully recovered. And so sadly, he died in December 15th, 1950 in Bombay, which is modern-day Mumbai. Mahatma Gandhi became his political guru after their coincidental meeting in the Gujarat Club, after which Gandhi's bold stand, show of courage, and his welcome from imprisonment inspired him. Thereafter, Sardar supported Gandhi completely and told his countrymen that it would be better to die than to stand and watch your country go to complete ruins, and also helped many of Gandhi's movements become a reality, one being the Quit India campaign. Primarily, the Iron Man of India proved to be the most undervalued freedom fighter due to his key role in integrating around 565 princely states into the modern-day Indian Union. According to the Statue of Unity's official website, soon after Indian independence, some of the Maharajas and Nawabs of the 562 princely states believed they would become independent rulers of their respective kingdoms, similar to the pre-British era. They argued that the government of free India should treat them as their equals. It was Sardar Patel's insight, wisdom, and diplomacy that finally convinced the monarchs to agree to accede with the Indian Republic. That is to say, without Sardar's cognizance, India would have returned to a monarchy, defeating the whole purpose of the revolution, which was in the first place done for the sake of building a republic. And someone who had had such a role in this must deserve more attention than what he is being given. Also, going back to how life was before British rule would mean that they would also have to not industrialize, leaving room for another country to imperialize India yet again due to the lack of their technology. According to the Encyclopedia of India, without his steady control, the Indian Union might not have survived the violence, uncertainty, disorder, and terror that followed partition. In many ways, Sardar Patel was a true architect of a viable Indian state by causing a peaceful merger of 562 princely states comprising 1/3 of the total area of India into the Indian Union with a short span of less than 2 years. Meaning, without Sardar's input, India would have also been in ruins trying to survive violence, wholly defying Gandhi's principle of ahimsa, another reason to say that he's a very underrated person. The violence would have tore India even further apart than just splitting off two sections into modern-day Pakistan and Bangladesh. Furthermore, another reason to say that Sardar Patel was the most understated revolutionist in India is that India is being indebted to his augmentation of Mahatma Gandhi's aspiration. The Encyclopedia of India states that a ready response was found in Sardar Patel as he saw Gandhi's courage. He left his highly lucrative practice and dedicated himself to India's liberation under Gandhi's leadership. Even to someone as great as Mahatma Gandhi, he clearly gave his frank and independent opinion, and they were usually known to come to one decision together. Meaning, he left his profitable job and dedicated his life to his country's liberation, which is something that not many people would be able to do so immediately, showing yet again how unique he was. Sardar was also a strict follower of Gandhi's and his own ideals, as shown firstly when his famed barrister robes, imported suits, neckties, and many pairs of shoes were all consigned to flames when people made bonfires and burned their foreign clothes in Ahmedabad when Gandhi launched his first national satyagraha, a nationwide boycott of British goods. He even went as far as withdrawing his daughter Moneybain from her British school and giving up his legal practice, which brought hardship to his family as this was their only income. And as soon as Gandhi asked lawyers to withdraw from the courts and asked parents to remove their children from English schools and urged everyone to wear khadi, the hand-spun and hand-woven cloth that Gandhi himself wore until his death. This would mean that Sardar was ready to let go of anything and to go to any extent to achieve his and Mahatma Gandhi's shared goal of India's independence, showing us his level of dedication, which is unlike anyone else's, and also his courage, drive, and selflessness, which is something he had in common with Gandhi. By and by, Sardar's Satyagraha coalitions are the next most noteworthy proof to say that he is indeed the most underrated person due to the fact that he saved many individuals from starvation, homelessness, and even death. The encyclopedia also states that Patel's first great satyagraha movement, the agrarian struggle he led in the Kheda district of Gujarat, where poor farmers of the district pleaded with the government to lower the land revenues as their crops rotted due to excessive rains. The government rejected their pleas, and so Patel toured every village, listened to the farmers, and advised them to not pay any taxes despite the repressive measures of the government, who auctioned many houses and crops and threatened long terms of imprisonment for 6 months. Ultimately, the government relented, and a decision was reached that only 8% of the land revenue was to be recovered. In other words, in Kheda, many poor farmers would have starved due to a British-caused famine if it weren't for Patel's organization. During this time, not only were there deaths of starvation, but there were also a large amount of deaths due to a cholera outbreak, which wasn't treated due to the British's recklessness, and was also being more noticeable as Patel became more prominent. In 1928, Patel electrified the country with his famous Bardoli Satyagraha, where the farmers were incensed by the unjust increase in land taxes, and Patel advised them to turn their dismay into action and by remaining peaceful even when tax collectors came to attack their property, which they did. Patel appealed to the governor for an impartial tribunal to examine the excessive increase in land taxes, warning that the peasants would continue their non-cooperation. The tribunal found an error in the earlier assessment and recommended an increase of 7% instead of the 22% previously assessed, thus vindicating Patel's stand. It was an inspiring satyagraha in which not a single life was lost and a great victory was won. To put it in another way, Patel's assembling of people in India was the main cause for the populace of Bardoli not becoming homeless and to be left at the mercy of British imperialism. The aforementioned attacking of property didn't just stand at that. It also included the murdering of the property owners, which was prevented by Patel's assembly. He was known as the Iron Man of India because despite his deteriorating health conditions and age, Sardar Patel never lost sight of his larger purpose, which was creating a united India. As India's first Home Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, Sardar Patel played a key role in integrating 565 princely states into the modern-day Indian Union. He organized, planned, executed, and joined many revolts against the British government and helped Indians at the time for fighting for rights and against injustice. He worked for the orderly transfer of power from British to Indian hands, keeping the Raj intact to cope with the turmoil and weakness in the early post-partition years. He mostly accomplished this peacefully by diplomatic means, following the ideologies of his political guru, Mahatma Gandhi, but he wasn't afraid to use force when necessary. His actions are so well respected that just a few years ago, around 72 years after his death, the current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has built a 182-meter memorial to politician Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. This statue is called the Statue of Unity and is currently the world's tallest statue, standing in the state of Gujarat, India. These are the works I've referenced. Thank you.